Cynthia Harris had been dreading this day. Her morning had started like any other: a cup of coffee, a few phone calls, and the usual rush to get to work. She had a busy schedule ahead of her, as a federal prosecutor time was always tight, and she didn't have much room for distractions. But when the police siren blared behind her, as she was driving home from an important meeting, she had no choice but to pull over. Her heart raced a little as she wondered what this might be. About the officer approached her vehicle and asked for her license and registration. Cynthia could tell something was off from the moment he spoke to her. There was no friendly greeting, no pleasantries, just the cold voice of authority and an almost immediate accusation of wrongdoing. The officer claimed she had been speeding, though she had been driving at the speed limit, and there were no signs to indicate otherwise. He handed her a ticket for a fine that seemed completely out of proportion for the situation. But she didn't argue. She took the ticket and drove off with a growing sense of frustration and disbelief. It wasn't just the ticket, it was the fact that she felt like she had been unfairly targeted, not because of anything she had done, but because of who she was. The fine wasn't the end of it. Cynthia received a notice that she was required to appear in court for the violation, a simple matter in most cases. But something about the whole situation left her uneasy. As a prosecutor, she had seen countless cases where people were treated unfairly by the justice system. She had fought to correct injustices, to ensure that those who were wronged had a chance at redemption. But this time, she was on the other side. She wasn't representing a client. She wasn't there to fight for someone else's rights. She was the one being judged. And for the first time in a long time, she felt powerless. The morning of the hearing, Cynthia dressed casually, as she had no intention of drawing attention to herself. She didn't want to stand out or make a scene. She arrived at the courthouse, feeling a mix of dread and determination. She wasn't sure what to expect, but she knew she had to be there. It was part of the process, even if she believed it was all a mistake. She sat quietly in the courtroom as others filed in around her. The room was stuffy and old, the air thick with the smell of musty paper and stale wood. The other defendants looked nervous, fidgeting with their hands and avoiding eye contact. Some looked like they had been through this process before, others like they were just trying to get through it without making any waves. But Cynthia sat still, composed and calm, watching as the judge took his seat behind the podium. He was an older man with graying hair and a stern expression. His robe hung loosely around his shoulders, and his glasses perched on the edge of his nose, giving him the appearance of someone who had seen it all, someone who had passed judgment on countless others before Cynthia's name was called. And she stood up, walking to the front of the courtroom. She gave the judge a polite nod and waited for him to address her. She was ready to explain what had happened, to clarify the situation, and hopefully have the fine dismissed. But as soon as she started speaking, she could tell that the judge wasn't really listening. His eyes were scanning the room impatiently, and his tone was dismissive, as if he had already made up his mind about her before she even opened her mouth. Asterisk, asterisk. Just pay the fine and move on. Asterisk, asterisk. He muttered, cutting her off with a wave of his hand. The word stung, but Cynthia held her ground. She tried again to explain the misunderstanding, but he wasn't having it. His attention drifted elsewhere, and she was left standing there, feeling both invisible and insignificant. Despite her credentials, despite everything she had accomplished, she realized in that moment that none of that mattered in this space. She was just another defendant in a courtroom full of people who had been judged based on the color of their skin, their appearance, or the assumptions others made about them. She left the courtroom without a word, her face calm, but her mind racing. She couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. She had been dismissed, not just as a defendant, but as a person, her dignity overlooked in favor of convenience and prejudice. Cynthia left the courtroom with a heavy heart, the weight of the judge's dismissive attitude pressing down on her chest. As she walked out into the bright sunlight, she tried to shake off the anger bubbling inside her. She had dealt with her share of injustice in the past, but this felt different. It wasn't just the unfair fine, though that in itself was frustrating enough. It was the way she had been treated, like her words didn't matter, like her existence in that courtroom was insignificant. As a federal prosecutor, she had spent years fighting for justice, standing up for the underrepresented, for those who had been wrongly accused or oppressed by a system that often ignored their humanity. But today, standing in front of that judge, she felt like she was the one who had been overlooked, dismissed as just another black woman in the system. It wasn't just the offense. It was the assumption that she was someone to be brushed aside. She had faced racism in many forms before subtle looks, whispered comments, and the occasional condescending tone. But this felt different. This was someone in a position of power, someone who was supposed to be impartial and fair, who had decided her fate before even hearing her side of the story. The assumption that her voice didn't matter was a reality she wasn't willing to accept, not in her professional life, and certainly not in her personal one. Cynthia's mind was a whirlwind of emotions as she made her way to her car. She wasn't just angry, though. She was determined. She knew that standing by and letting this slide would be a disservice to the people she had fought for throughout her career. This wasn't just about a fine anymore. This was about accountability, about ensuring that no one, especially people of color, was treated with the same disrespect she had endured. She wasn't sure yet how she was going to confront it, but she was going to make sure the judge knew he couldn't just get away with this. Later that evening, she met her best friend, James Walker, at a local coffee shop. He was one of the few people she trusted enough to talk to about her frustrations. As a paralegal who had worked in the legal field for years, he understood how the system worked, how sometimes it took one person to speak out to spark a change. When Cynthia shared her experience, his expression grew tense, a mixture of disbelief and concern. You've got to be kidding me, James said after hearing about the judge's behavior. You're telling me that guy just dismissed you like that without even listening to you. After everything you've accomplished? That's not right, Cynthia. Cynthia nodded, her fingers tapping nervously on her coffee cup. It's not just the fine. It's the way he treated me. Like I was invisible, like nothing I had to say mattered. James leaned forward, his eyes narrowing. You don't have to take that, you know. His voice was quieter now, more serious. You've got the power, the position to fight back. You're a prosecutor. You've seen the worst of the justice system. You know better than anyone how to handle this. Cynthia stared at her reflection in the coffee cup, deep in thought. It wasn't just about her ego or getting revenge. It was about the bigger picture. How many others had been treated like this in this same courthouse? How many others had felt small, dismissed, invisible in the eyes of the law? She had spent her career fighting for fairness in the courtroom, but today she had been subjected to the same injustice she had spent years prosecuting. The more she thought about it, the more certain she became. She didn't want to make a scene or draw attention to herself, but something needed to be done. I'm going to handle this, she said quietly, her voice firm. But not the way they think, James gave her a knowing look. You've got this, he said. Just be careful. You know how the system works, but it's not always easy to fight it from the inside. Cynthia smiled, her resolve hardening. She wasn't going to back down. She would make sure the judge knew what it meant to truly listen. As they parted ways, Cynthia felt a spark of hope. Mate. She couldn't change the whole system by herself, but this she could do. Cynthia spent the next few days grappling with the idea of confronting Judge Stewart. She didn't want to be reckless, didn't want to make a scene that would backfire. But the more she thought about it, the more it became clear. This wasn't just about a traffic fine. It was about respect. It was about how someone in a position of authority had dismissed her without a second thought. And she wasn't going to let that go. Her strategy was simple. She wasn't going to storm back into the courthouse demanding answers. She was going to take a more calculated approach. Cynthia knew that as a federal prosecutor, she had leverage. She had authority, experience, and access to resources that most people didn't. But she also knew that it wasn't enough to simply wave her badge around. She needed to make an impact, not just on the judge, but on the entire system. The first step was getting a private audience with Judge Stewart. She called the courthouse, asking for a meeting with him. At first, the receptionist seemed confused. Why would anyone want to meet with a judge about a routine traffic fine? But Cynthia was polite and persistent, explaining that she simply wanted to have a conversation. She didn't mention her position at first. She wanted to approach the situation without any assumptions on the judge's part. It was only after the meeting was scheduled that Cynthia realized how tense she felt. She wasn't nervous about the confrontation. She was a seasoned prosecutor who had been in countless high-stakes situations. What unnerved her was the fact that she was walking into a room where her identity would be completely misjudged. The judge didn't know who she was yet. He didn't know what kind of power she wielded in the legal world. And maybe, just maybe, that was the point. The morning of the meeting, Cynthia dressed carefully, not too formal, but just professional enough. She wore a tailored blazer over a simple blouse, her hair pulled back into a sleek ponytail. As she walked into the courthouse, she made sure to walk with purpose, to let her presence be known even before she entered the judge's chambers. There was a quiet confidence in her step, a calmness in her demeanor that came from knowing she wasn't just anyone who could be ignored. When she entered the judge's chambers, Judge Stewart didn't immediately recognize her. He glanced up from his desk, adjusting his glasses as if he were expecting just another disgruntled citizen. He gestured for her to sit, a polite but detached motion. Cynthia had been in many rooms like this before, rooms where power dynamics shifted with every word but this time, the power didn't lie with the judge. It lay in the quiet force of her own resolve. "Good morning, Judge Stewart," she said, her voice calm but firm. "Thank you for making time to meet with me." The judge gave a brief nod, his expression unreadable. "Of course, Miss Harris. What can I do for you?" She took a deep breath, keeping her voice even as she began speaking. He wanted to discuss the fine you imposed on me last week. I believe there's been a misunderstanding. Judge Stewart looked at her, then quickly glanced down at his desk, scanning through papers. Cynthia couldn't help but notice his body language. It was dismissive, almost impatient. He clearly wasn't expecting anything out of the ordinary. She pressed on, explaining how the situation had unfolded and how, in her opinion, the fine had been unfair. But as she spoke, she could feel the judge's attention slipping away, his mind already moving on to the next case. He didn't seem to care about the nuances of the situation or her version of events. It was clear that, to him, she was just another defendant, another name on a list of people who came through the courthouse, each one easily dismissed without a second thought. She paused, watching him carefully as he continued to glance at his papers. This wasn't going the way she had hoped. But she wasn't done yet. It was time to turn the conversation. "Judge," she said, her tone shifting slightly, "I'd like to make something clear." She waited for his eyes to meet hers before continuing. "I'm not just a random person walking into your courtroom. I'm a federal prosecutor." There was a moment of stunned silence. Judge Stewart froze. His eyes widening as his brain processed her words. Cynthia could see the flicker of recognition in his eyes, the understanding that something had just shifted, but she didn't wait for him to collect his thoughts. She pressed forward. "I've dedicated my career to ensuring justice is fair and impartial. I fight every day to make sure people aren't treated based on assumptions or prejudices." Her voice was steady now, resolute. "And today, I'm standing before you as someone who deserves to be heard." The judge was silent for a long moment, still processing what she had just revealed. Cynthia didn't let up. She wanted him to feel the weight of her words, to understand that she wasn't just asking for her fine to be reconsidered. She was asking for accountability, for the systems of power that had let him dismiss her and others like her without a second thought. She leaned forward slightly, her voice unwavering. You have a responsibility as a judge to treat everyone in your courtroom with dignity and respect. I expect that respect from you, and I won't settle for anything less. The room felt heavy with the silence that followed, the air thick with the shift in power that Cynthia had quietly set into motion. Asterisk asterisk Judge Stewart's face remained unreadable asterisk asterisk, but Cynthia could tell that his world had just been upended in a way he hadn't anticipated. And for the first time that day, he was listening. The silence that followed Cynthia's words was thick with tension. Judge Stewart seemed frozen, caught off guard by the revelation that the woman sitting across from him wasn't just another defendant, but a person who had spent years fighting for justice in a far more significant role than he could have ever imagined. For a long moment, he didn't say anything, and Cynthia waited, her gaze unwavering, her posture confident. She wasn't about to back down now. Finally, the judge cleared his throat, breaking the stillness. "Miss Harris," he began, his voice now noticeably more guarded. "I wasn't aware of your position when you walked in here. I apologize for any misunderstanding." Cynthia didn't let him off easily. She knew better than to accept a half-hearted apology. Asterisk asterisk apologies without understanding meant nothing asterisk asterisk. She leaned forward slightly, folding her arms across her chest, and spoke with precision, making each word count. Asterisk asterisk, it's not about knowing who I am. Judge asterisk asterisk, it's about how you treat people in your courtroom. It's about the assumptions you make before you even hear them out. My case wasn't an isolated incident. You don't know how many people walk into your courtroom feeling exactly the same way I did. She paused, letting the words settle in the air. You dismissed me, Judge. You didn't see me. You saw a black woman, someone who could be ignored. I'm not the first, and I won't be the last. Judge Stewart shifted in his chair, clearly uncomfortable with the turn the conversation had taken. Asterisk asterisk, but Cynthia wasn't done asterisk asterisk. Asterisk asterisk, that kind of treatment has consequences, whether it's in a courtroom parking lot, or anywhere else. The asterisk asterisk. The justice system is supposed to protect everyone equally. You are a gatekeeper to that system. And if you're letting biases, conscious or unconscious, dictate how you interact with people, then you're part of the problem. You are perpetuating the very injustices I fight every day to correct. The judge blinked, taken aback by the intensity in Cynthia's voice. It was clear that he had never been confronted in this way. Most people didn't dare question him directly. Most people simply accepted his authority. But Cynthia was no ordinary person, and she wasn't going to quietly let this slip under the rug. For the first time in their conversation, Cynthia saw the judge's expression soften just slightly. Asterisk asterisk, there was a glimmer of recognition in his eyes, as though the weight of her words was beginning to sink in asterisk asterisk. Asterisk asterisk, I'm not asking for special treatment, Judge asterisk asterisk, Cynthia continued. But I am asking for fairness, for respect. And you can do better than what you did to me. Her words were direct but calm, each one weighed with the knowledge of her experience. The people who come before you, they aren't just numbers. They're people, and they deserve to be seen as such. Judge Stewart took a deep breath, his hand rubbing the back of his neck as though he were trying to process what Cynthia had just said. He had been in the courtroom for decades, handing down rulings without hesitation, assuming that his position shielded him from being questioned or challenged. But now, for the first time, he was seeing something different asterisk asterisk. A woman in front of him who had every right to call him out for his actions. Someone who would not let him hide behind his title or his position. I understand. His voice was quieter now, less authoritative. I truly do. I've been doing this a long time, and I suppose I've grown too comfortable. I'm sorry, Miss Harris. I'll make sure this doesn't happen again. Cynthia didn't allow herself to relax just yet. Asterisk asterisk, words were one thing. Actions were another. Asterisk asterisk. She had heard too many apologies in her life, too many promises made with no intention of following through. But there was something in the judge's demeanor now, something that suggested that maybe, just maybe, he had taken her words to heart. Asterisk asterisk, I hope so. Judge asterisk asterisk, she said it softly, but with a firmness that conveyed she wasn't just talking about her case. Because it's not just about me. It's about everyone who walks into this courthouse, no matter their race, gender, or background. If you can't treat them with dignity, then I can't have confidence in your judgment. Judge Stewart's shoulders sagged slightly as though a weight had been lifted from them, the heavy air between them beginning to ease. I'll take your words seriously, Miss Harris. I'll review my processes, and I'll make sure I don't make the same mistake again. Thank you for bringing this to my attention. Cynthia stood, her eyes locked on his for a moment longer. She could see he was genuine, but she knew she had to stay vigilant. Asterisk asterisk change wouldn't come from just one conversation asterisk asterisk, but this conversation, this moment, was a small victory in itself. She had made her point. She had been heard. Asterisk asterisk and sometimes. That's all it took asterisk asterisk. As she walked out of his chambers, she felt a sense of accomplishment that she hadn't expected to feel so soon. She had stood her ground, called out the judge's biases, and made him see her, not as a random woman he could dismiss, but as someone who demanded respect. It wasn't over, but she had planted a seed of change, one conversation at a time. And Cynthia knew she wouldn't stop until that seed grew into something much bigger. Cynthia left Judge Stewart's chambers feeling a mixture of relief and anticipation. It wasn't that she felt victorious. Victory would come when there was tangible change. But she had made a statement. She had spoken truth to power, and now the hard part began, making sure that the impact of her words didn't fade into nothingness. The days following her meeting with the judge were a blur of legal cases, deadlines, and meetings. But in between it all, Cynthia couldn't shake the feeling that she had just scratched the surface of something much larger. She had addressed the behavior of one judge, but the reality was that the courthouse and the broader legal system was riddled with subtle biases, assumptions, and prejudices. Asterisk asterisk, she couldn't just walk away from it. Asterisk asterisk. One afternoon, a week after the meeting, Cynthia received an unexpected call. It was from the courthouse itself, from a clerk's office. The voice on the other end was unfamiliar but warm. "Ms. Harris," the voice began, "I'm calling to inform you that Judge Stewart has decided to rescind your fine. He's also issued a public apology for how he handled your case. We've scheduled a hearing for the following week where the judge will address the matter publicly. We just wanted to let you know in advance." Cynthia felt a flicker of surprise, then a wave of satisfaction. Asterisk asterisk, it wasn't just the fine being overturned. It was the apology, public and official asterisk asterisk, a quiet victory. But as the words sank in, she knew this wasn't enough. She couldn't let the story end here. Asterisk asterisk, she wasn't the only one asterisk asterisk who had been subjected to unfair treatment in a courtroom. She had been given an opportunity to make a difference, and she knew this was her chance to ensure the change wasn't limited to her own experience. Asterisk asterisk, if this could happen to her, it could happen to anyone asterisk asterisk. After a few moments of reflection, Cynthia took action. She began drafting an open letter. It was clear to her now. The conversation she had with Judge Stewart needed to be expanded. It couldn't remain confined to just one person. Asterisk asterisk, she wanted to start a movement asterisk asterisk. Her letter was detailed, calm, and authoritative. It laid out the problem of racial bias in the courtroom based on her own personal experience, but also on the much larger patterns she had seen throughout her career. It wasn't just about the judge or her fine. It was about an entire system that sometimes failed to see people for who they truly were, instead reducing them to stereotypes and assumptions. Cynthia didn't hold back. She spoke about the importance of asterisk asterisk implicit bias training asterisk asterisk for judges and court staff, urging the legal system to look beyond surface judgments and focus on the merits of each individual case. She also called for greater accountability, not just for individual actions, but for the culture that allowed such behavior to persist. Once the letter was complete, she sent it to several local media outlets, hoping to get the word out. She also reached out to her colleagues in the federal prosecutor's office, hoping to rally support. Her letter struck a chord not just with lawyers and judges, but with the public at large. The following week, during the public hearing, Judge Stewart delivered his apology. He was visibly uncomfortable as he addressed the room, acknowledging that he had made a mistake and had let his biases influence his actions. But what caught everyone's attention was what came next. he publicly committed to a broader review of the courthouse's practices, including mandatory training for all staff on racial bias and cultural competency. It wasn't just an apology, it was the beginning of a real change in the courthouse. Cynthia watched the hearing from the back of the room, her heart swelling with cautious hope. It wasn't enough to fix everything overnight, but it was a start. It was a shift, a recognition that the system needed to be better, and that change wasn't just possible, it was necessary. The media picked up on the story, and soon, Cynthia's open letter became a topic of public discussion. Calls for reforms in the justice system grew louder, with local activists, lawyers, and everyday citizens sharing their own experiences of bias and injustice in the courtroom. Cynthia's quiet stand had sparked something much larger than she had anticipated, a ripple effect that was starting to shake the foundations of the system. By the end of the week, Cynthia had already received dozens of messages from people who had read her letter, expressing gratitude and solidarity. They shared their own stories of being dismissed or wronged by the justice system, and many wondered what they could do to create change too. As Cynthia sat at her desk, going through her emails, she couldn't help but feel a deep sense of fulfillment. This wasn't just about one judge or one case. This was about something much larger, a collective reckoning with the biases that had shaped the justice system for far too long. The work had only just begun and Cynthia knew she was ready to keep pushing. As the weeks passed, Cynthia's actions gained momentum, and what had initially been a quiet confrontation between one prosecutor and a single judge began to evolve into a larger movement. The public hearing where Judge Stewart had apologized had made waves, but it was her open letter that had sparked a fire. Media outlets across the region picked up the story running articles about racial bias in the courtroom and the power of one person's decision to speak up. Cynthia had become an unlikely catalyst for a much-needed conversation about justice, fairness, and accountability. Soon after the hearing, Cynthia was approached by several prominent local activists who had seen her letter and were eager to collaborate. They had been working for years to address systemic racism in the legal system, but had struggled to gain traction. Now, with Cynthia's influence and visibility, they saw an opportunity to create tangible change. One afternoon, Cynthia met with Lena Ferguson a well-known civil rights lawyer, and Marcus Walker an activist and former legal aide at a small cafe downtown. Their conversation quickly turned from pleasantries to strategy as they discussed how to expand on the momentum of Cynthia's actions. "You've started something big, Cynthia," Lena said, sipping her coffee. "The public is paying attention now, and this is the perfect time to push for real reform." Marcus nodded. The public hearing with Judge Stewart was just the beginning, but it was an important one. "We need to keep the pressure on. We need to take this conversation beyond the courthouse walls." Cynthia leaned forward, her mind racing. She had been working alone up until this point, but now, with these allies by her side, she realized the potential to make a real, lasting impact. We need to address the system as a whole Cynthia said, her voice firm. "This isn't just about one judge or one courthouse. It's about how racial bias shapes every aspect of the justice system. We need to get the conversation into the halls of power, legislators, policymakers, legal educators, and make sure it doesn't die down." Lena's eyes lit up. Exactly. It's not just about changing one judge's behavior. It's about ensuring that all judges, court staff, and even police officers are held accountable for their actions. We need a widespread review of practices, starting with training on implicit bias, but it goes deeper than that. We need comprehensive policy changes at every level. Marcus leaned back thoughtfully. We can't just rely on one-on-one meetings. It's going to take a public campaign, marches, rallies, petitions. If we can get the community involved, the pressure will be harder to ignore. Cynthia agreed, but she also knew the stakes were higher now. She couldn't afford to make missteps. The attention her actions had attracted was a double-edged sword. While it could fuel positive change, it also exposed her to increased scrutiny. The question was no longer just whether she could make a difference, but how far she was willing to push the envelope to create systemic change. After their meeting, the trio began laying the groundwork for a series of public actions, starting with a rally at the courthouse to demand comprehensive bias training and a review of current practices. They would gather signatures for a petition, pushing for legislative action to address racial inequality in the justice system. Cynthia didn't have much free time, but she found herself more committed than ever. She wasn't just fighting for herself anymore. She was fighting for every person who had ever walked into a courtroom feeling unseen or unheard. Every case of bias she had seen in her career suddenly felt more urgent. She couldn't just let those injustices go unchallenged. In the midst of all this, Cynthia's phone buzzed with an unexpected text from Judge Stewart. His message was brief but to the point. I've been thinking a lot about our conversation. I wanted to thank you again. It's not lost on me what you've started. I'm committing to more than just the changes we've talked about. I'm going to push for bias training in the judicial district as a whole. Cynthia stared at the text for a long moment. She had made him reflect. Not only had she called out his actions, but she had made him reconsider the broader impact of the biases that might exist within the system. It was a small but significant victory, one more step in the right direction. Her phone buzzed again, this time a message from Marcus. We are gathering supporters for the rally next week. It's going to be big. Are you in? She stared at the message and smiled. She had made her choice. There was no turning back now. She was in. As Cynthia prepared for the rally, she realized that her journey had become something larger than herself. It was a movement, one that was just beginning to gain traction, and she was at its forefront. The justice system wasn't going to change overnight, but with the right combination of public pressure, legal advocacy, and continued courage, she believed real change was possible. And this time, she wasn't walking alone. The day of the rally arrived, and the courthouse steps were filled with people. Cynthia stood at the front, her heart pounding in her chest as she surveyed the crowd. There were activists, legal professionals, students, and everyday citizens, people from all walks of life who had come together to demand accountability and fairness in the justice system. What had started as one woman's quiet confrontation had now become a powerful public movement. The air was thick with energy as the crowd gathered, holding signs that read justice for all and racial bias in the courts and fairness is a right, not a privilege. Cynthia couldn't help but feel a sense of awe. She had never expected this many people to show up, never thought her own small act of standing up for herself would inspire so many others to do the same. The rally was organized by Cynthia, Lena, and Marcus, but it had taken on a life of its own. Speakers took turns at the podium, sharing personal stories of injustice, of being overlooked or mistreated by the system. Some spoke about their experiences in courtrooms, while others shared stories from law enforcement, where racial biases often shaped outcomes. Cynthia listened intently, her mind racing with thoughts of how far this movement could go. Each speaker seemed to add more fuel to the fire, igniting the crowd's passion and reinforcing the urgent need for change. This wasn't just about one traffic ticket anymore. It was about an entire culture of bias that had permeated the justice system for too long. And they were all here to demand that it stop. When it was finally Cynthia's turn to speak, the crowd fell silent. She stepped up to the podium, feeling a mix of nerves and determination. She had spoken in front of a courtroom many times, but this was different. This was her moment to speak not only for herself, but for all those who had ever been wronged by the system. She cleared her throat and looked out at the crowd, her voice steady as she began. Thank you all for being here today. She said. Thank you for standing with me, for standing with all of us who have ever been mistreated, dismissed, or ignored by the system asterisk asterisk. The crowd erupted into applause. It was a simple gesture, but it sent a surge of energy through Cynthia. She smiled, grateful for the support, and continued. Asterisk asterisk a few weeks ago, I stood in a courtroom in front of a judge who did not see me for who I was asterisk asterisk. He saw my skin, my gender, and made assumptions about me based on that. He didn't know that I am a federal prosecutor. He didn't know that I've spent my career fighting for justice. But more importantly, he didn't see me as a person, as someone deserving of respect. And that moment made me realize that this isn't just about me. It's about a system that has been failing people for far too long. She paused for a moment, letting her words sink in. Asterisk asterisk I'm here today because I believe in the power of change asterisk asterisk. Cynthia's voice was filled with conviction. Asterisk asterisk he believed that when we speak up, when we refuse to stay silent in the face of injustice, we can make that change happen asterisk asterisk. The crowd was silent now, listening intently. Cynthia could feel the weight of their attention on her. Asterisk asterisk this movement, this rally, isn't just about one judge or one case asterisk asterisk, it's about a call to action. It's about holding our legal system accountable for the harm it has caused for generations. We must push for comprehensive changes, bias training for judges, a review of how courtrooms handle racial disparities, and the implementation of fair practices that ensure everyone is treated equally under the law, no matter their race, gender, or background asterisk asterisk. The crowd cheered, their voices rising in unity. Asterisk asterisk, but we can't do this alone, asterisk asterisk, Cynthia continued. Asterisk asterisk, we need lawmakers, we need police officers, we need judges, we need everyone who is a part of the system to step up and commit to real change. This isn't just about us, the people in this crowd, but about every person who has ever walked into a courtroom feeling like their voice doesn't matter. It's time to make it clear that their voices do matter asterisk asterisk. The cheers grew louder, the energy in the air palpable. Cynthia had said what she needed to say, but there was still so much more work to be done. This rally was a beginning, a powerful spark, but it was only the first step in a much longer fight for justice. As the rally continued, people began to sign petitions for judicial reforms, calling for changes that would hold judges and court staff accountable for their actions. Volunteers handed out flyers with information on upcoming meetings and strategies to push for legislation. Marcus and Lena moved through the crowd, talking to supporters, organizing the next steps. Cynthia felt a sense of hope wash over her as she watched the community come together. Asterisk asterisk this was only the start asterisk asterisk. The ripple she had created with her own story had turned into a tidal wave of activism, one that could no longer be ignored. Change was coming, and it was coming with the full force of a united people determined to make their voices heard. As the sun began to set over the courthouse steps, Cynthia knew that the fight was far from over. But for the first time, she felt confident that, together, they were stronger than the system that had so often failed them. And that strength would see them through. The rally had come to an end, but its echoes lingered in the air. The crowd dispersed slowly, energized, but also aware that real change would take time and perseverance. For Cynthia, the feeling of unity and solidarity was palpable. She had seen the faces of people who shared her frustrations, her hopes, and her determination for justice. The message had been loud and clear. Asterisk asterisk, this was only the beginning asterisk asterisk. In the days that followed, the energy from the rally didn't dissipate. It spread. Asterisk asterisk supporters and allies began to organize themselves into committees, pushing for policy changes and court reforms at local and state levels. Asterisk asterisk, Cynthia had become more than just a face of the movement. She had become its driving force. Requests for interviews, speaking engagements, and collaborations poured in. It was overwhelming at times, but Cynthia understood that her role was now not just to lead, but to inspire others to take action as well. The petition she had launched after the rally gained traction quickly, with thousands of signatures flooding in. The demand was clear: bias training, accountability for judges and legal staff, and an overhaul of how racial disparities were addressed within the judicial system. In the weeks that followed, local legislators started to take notice. Cynthia and her team were invited to meetings with lawmakers, where they began crafting the framework for a bill that would mandate bias training for all judges, court staff, and law enforcement officers in the district. They even began discussing the creation of an oversight committee to monitor racial disparities in the system, something that had never existed before. Despite these victories, Cynthia knew that the fight was far from over. The work of changing an entrenched system would be slow and difficult. She had been in the system long enough to know how resistant to change it could be. Even when reforms were made, there would be people, powerful people, who fought to preserve the status quo. And yet, Cynthia was undeterred. She continued to work tirelessly, meeting with activists, legal experts, and community leaders to keep the momentum alive. She spoke at more rallies, held town halls, and used every opportunity to remind people that the movement wasn't just about her. It was about the collective power of those who had been wronged and those who had the courage to stand up for justice. One afternoon, months after the rally, Cynthia sat in her office, reviewing case files. Her phone buzzed with a message from Marcus. They just passed the first part of the bill in the state legislature. It's happening, Cynthia paused, allowing the news to sink in. It was real, the first of many steps had been taken, and the legislation she had fought for was becoming a reality. She smiled, a quiet satisfaction settling over her. But it wasn't time to rest. There was still so much to do. A few days later, she received an invitation to address a national conference on racial justice in the courtroom. This was a huge opportunity, not just for her to speak on behalf of the movement, but to push the conversation onto a larger stage. It would be a platform for her to tell her story and share the work they had begun. Inspiring others across the country to take action in their own communities. That night, Cynthia sat at her kitchen table, drafting her speech. As she wrote, she reflected on how far she had come, on the long road she had walked, from being an overlooked defendant in a courtroom parking lot to becoming a leader in a national movement for justice. It wasn't just about the rally, or the bill, or the media attention. It was about the everyday moments. Those quiet conversations, the times when people took a step forward and spoke their truth, those were the moments that built the foundation for the changes they were working toward. The next morning, she stood before the audience of the conference, speaking with a clarity and confidence that resonated through the hall. This fight is not over, and it won't be for a long time, we have just begun to scratch the surface of what is needed. But I know one thing for sure, change is possible. It takes courage, it takes commitment, and most of all, it takes the willingness to stand up for what's right, even when no one else will. The crowd erupted into applause, and as Cynthia stepped down from the stage, she felt a renewed sense of purpose. The movement was growing stronger, and the fight for justice was gaining momentum. The journey ahead would be long and filled with challenges, but Cynthia Harris knew one thing for certain, as long as people were willing to speak out and fight for what was right, the system would never be the same again,